Today we're going to be looking at the display block. So you can go through, read this about understanding the display block and what it does. It could show you images or shapes or text all on your robot. There's ways to clear the screen, images, shapes, text, reset screen, all this stuff. So here's some imagery of the display blocks. And there's an X and Y position. X is horizontal and Y is up and down. So 0, 0 would be this top left corner here. If you wanted this to be lower, you would change the Y position because that's up and down. So if you wanted this to be down a lot farther, you might put in the number 10, depending on what grid you're using, or if you're using pixels, you might use like 50 or something like that. You can play around with those numbers and see how it affects the different things. So we have a grid, and then we have text pixels. Okay, here we have X is 1 and Y is 5, and you can see that it's not in the top, it went down, so it's just over a little bit. You see this grid, it went over one block. So if you had, and you can write whatever text you want right here. If you had just the word mind and you wanted to be over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you wanted to start here, you would put 6 in the X position. And if you wanted it to be down just a couple, this was 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It starts right there. You go down a little bit more, you would put in 7 or 8, something like that. And then we have a reset screen. You can pick text, shapes, images, or reset screen in our first image position. This is where our display block is found. And we have a program we're going to create called the DisplayTest. All right, there's all this information on radius and fill and color and text and font. You'll need this information. You'll need to read through this and understand this better when you get to the discoveries and how to create your discoveries. But our display test program is given to us, so we can just look at this and then follow along. Remember, you can download this from the topics page, or you can look in your OneNote and read it through there. So let's first of all open up our Lego Mindstorm EV3. All right, Lego Mindstorm Education. Open up our software. New project. Oh, wait. Yeah. Open. This is files, new project, open. All right, so when we scroll over these, you can see this is the display. This is a brick status light. This was the sound we just did. So we'll bring over our display right here. And we'll see we can choose text, shapes, or images. The first thing we're going to want, all right, so we're going to want an image of angry eyeballs, angry expression eyeballs up there. So we're going to go into, and we're going to save this as 0, 0, and that's a check mark to erase whatever was on it before. So we go on images. And then we look for Lego images, and we see we have expressions, eyes, information, objects, all different things there. All right, we want angry eyes. So here's what the angry eyes look like, so we know it's right there. We can look at different types of eyes. We can have eyes move around, crazy eyes. Okay, so we're going to do angry eyes. And now we go on to our next block, which is a move steering block that we're going to have time for 2 seconds, and it goes straight. Move steering. Don't use the move tank, use the move steering. And we're going to go on for seconds, and we're going to change that to 2 seconds. 2. All right, so that's all set. And then we're going to use, we're going to create a circle, and we want the diameter to be 50, We want it to be in the X and Y position. This is in pixels, so this is 90 over and 64 down for the center, so that that's centered correctly. And then we want to fill that circle in. So let's go ahead and do that. Display. We want shapes, circle. All right, we want this to be 90, this to be 64. And we want this diameter to be 50. And then we want it to be true. We want it to fill in with a color, okay? And the color we're using is black. You can pick black or white, so black is fine. And this erases whatever, clear the screen. So we had the angry eyes, and we have it moving, and then the first thing we wanted to do is clear the screen, and then it's going to draw this circle to these parameters that we put in here. And then we're going to use another display, but this time we're not going to clear the screen, and we're going to write text, and we're going to pick the color white because we have a black circle, so we want the text to be inside the circle so that we can see it. And we're going to pick the word hey. So display, text, and we want the grid. We could use pixels or grid. It's just the numbers are different. Pixels is very high numbers if you want it to be very precise, and a grid is a very simple square that's on there. So we don't want it to be erased. So we want to keep the circle, and we want the X to be 7, so that's 7 across, and we want it to be 5 down on the Y. And then we want the text to be white because we want the white text to be on a black circle. And then this is where we change the text. So we're going to put in hey. And then the last thing we want to do is have it go in a circle. So we're going to use the move steering block, and we're going to have it run for 2 seconds. We want this to turn at 100. We want this to be a power of 10, and we want it to go for 2 seconds. Now, these practice problems like to have you use the on for seconds, but if you want to do your robot, this on rotations and on degrees are the more precise ways to get your robot to go to specific positions on a floor, or if they're going to do a specific task. But on seconds is just easy enough to have it run for an amount of time while you are doing something. The reason for this is if your battery gets low, it'll go slower. You won't get as much power, and your robot will go slower, which means it won't go to the same position if you have it for a time. But even if your battery is low, it will always do the same amount of rotations, even if it's slower or faster, depending on what the power is. The power can be fast or slow, and the on rotations will always be the same. So on degrees and on rotations are more precise and better to be used if you want your robot to go to a specific position to do a specific task. All right, so here is our program. So all we have to do is download this program onto our robot, and I will show you what it does and what it should look like when you have it completed correctly. Now I'm going to ask you to do 2 things. The first thing is I want you to run this DisplayTest program. All right, so let's do File, Save Project As, and let's go to Documents and put in your name _ display test, and then save it so that this has your name and then it says display test. All right, do that before you download it onto your robot. And then I want you to do a second display test 2 and save that, where you change all your parameters here. I want you to have different images different shapes, different words, different positions. See what you can do, kind of mix it up, make the robot do different moves. See what you can do with a DisplayTest 2 program where you change these parameters. So now I'm going to show you what display test number 1, your first display test, should look like when it's run correctly on the robot. Now I'll show you the display test program being run. Angry eyes, circle that says hey, and then it's done.